Know the top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. A retired police colonel reportedly died and scores of others were injured when a magnitude 6.6 earthquake jolted the town of Cataingan in Masbate City on Tuesday morning. An initial report from the Masbate Police identified the fatality as retired Police Lieutenant Colonel Gilbert Sauro of Sitio Alimango in Cataingan. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology said the epicenter of the quake was traced 7 kilometers southwest of the municipality of Cataingan at around 8:03 a.m., where intensity 7, characterized by Philvox as destructive shaking, was felt. Philvox said the tremor had a depth of 21 kilometers and was tectonic in origin, which was caused by ground shaking primarily due to the sudden movement of the Earth's plates. Contacted by MB Now, Cataingan resident SB Castro said the tremor lasted for about 10 to 15 seconds and that they have experienced at least 30 aftershocks since. Castro was then cleaning their car outside of their place, feared for the lives of her sister and her 3 kids, her own 2 kids, and their mother who were having breakfast in their home's basement.
Tumakbo ako, nagtangka akong tumakbo, pero yung matutumba ka, tapos nag-ano na lang ako na nangangapa ako sa gilid nung sa balcony namin para papasok sana ako ng bahay para yung kunin ko sila ba. Tapos nasalubong ko na lang sila kasi nag-stop naman yung lindol, nasa mga 10 to 15 seconds yata. Ang lakas talaga, sir, grabe. Tapos nasalubong ko na lang lahat sila sa pinto. Yun, iyakan. Tapos nagyakapan kami, tapos natumba yung may mga 3 kaming motorbike, natumba lahat. Tapos yung fridge, yung TV sa lahat ng kwarto natumba, yung sa sala, yung cabinet namin, yung...
Based on the earthquake bulletin of Philvox, the tremor was also felt at intensity 5 or strong shaking in the city of Masbate and in the towns of Almagro and Tagapulan in Samar. Intensity 4 or moderately strong shaking was reported in the towns of Palanas and San Jacinto in Masbate, the city of Sorsogon, Legazpi City and Albay, and some municipalities in northern Samar, Leyte, and Negros Occidental. There was no risk of tsunami from the strong tremor, but Philvox said that aftershocks are expected to strike nearby towns and provinces, which are most likely weaker. The agency added it has so far located more than 20 aftershocks. The strongest was recorded with a 3.3 magnitude as of Tuesday noon. Experts and medical society was pushing for an extension of modified enhanced community quarantine, at least until the end of August, in helping to flatten the curve. But the president has decided to revert again Metro Manila and 14 other cities and provinces to general community quarantine starting tomorrow. With the assurance of the National Task Force for COVID-19's readiness to take on the challenge of experiencing possible rise in the COVID-19 cases the next few weeks. Jel Santos for this report.
A day after President Duterte downgraded the National Capital Region to general community quarantine, Chief Implementer Carito Galvez Jr. expressed the readiness of the National Task Force to take on the challenge of experiencing a possible rise in COVID-19 cases in the next few weeks. Duterte officially placed NCR to GCQ after being under modified enhanced community quarantine from August 4 to 18 in a TV address Monday from his place in Davao City. Experts, particularly from the medical society, were pushing for an extension of the MECQ to at least until the end of the month, claiming that such extension would help the country flatten the curve. But now that the president has decided on the lockdown matter, Galvez assured safeguards are in place once mobility within NCR and the rest of the country slowly regains traction.
Kung kayo po naman ay nilalagnat or inuubo yung sa ating mga mamayan, napapamalas po ng flu-like na symptoms, huwag po kayong magdalawang isip na mag-report agad ito sa inyong barangay o city health offices. Wala po kayong dapat ikatakot. Ang lahat po ay naka-coordinate sa ating mga lokal na pamahalaan upang mabilis, upang matulungan ang inyong pangangailangan at talagaan po natin kayo. Nandito rin po ang ating mga contact tracing teams upang mas epektibo na mabilis nating ma-identify ang ating mga possible and suspected cases. Sa kabuuan po, tayo po ay mayroong 14,348 contact tracing teams na binubuo ng 145,733 na mga miyembro.
Apart from the cooperation of the citizenry, Galvez asserts the role of local government units, particularly in NCR, in the long drawn-out effort to managing the spread of the disease.
Importante po kasi nakita po namin na MECQ is not a sustainable strategy. Ang way forward talaga po yung granular implementation ng lockdowns. Kasi po pagka nag-MECQ po tayo, ang laki po ng collateral po sa livelihood ng mga tao po natin. So, ang nakikita po natin, if we will empower our LGUs, dahil sila po ang pinaka-leader ng sila, they are the generals of the battlefront. Kung sila po ang mamumuno po talaga na makikita po natin na yung mga areas na dapat na i-lockdown at nakikita natin mga cluster of cases, mas madali po yung mga response at saka yung tinatawag nating interventions.
The government is hoping to avoid a repeat of the scenario that saw the country experience a surge in COVID-19 cases when the government eased off restrictions from MECQ to GCQ last June. From about 18,000 COVID cases recorded in June 1, the country saw a sharp rise in virus cases which reached more than 100,000 by August, forcing Duterte to heed the medical community's call for a stricter lockdown for 2 weeks, which will lapse after today. From MB Now, this is Jel Santos reporting.
There will be minor changes in the general community quarantine regulations, which will take effect in the National Capital Region and neighboring provinces, which will start Wednesday. The do's and don'ts of GCQ was announced by presidential spokesperson Harry Roque during his regular press briefing this afternoon. Let's listen to the secretary.
Pwede lang pong lumabas ay mga essential workers at mga tinatawag na APORs or authorized persons outside residence. Bawal pa rin po yung mga below 21, mga seniors, yung may sakit at mga buntis. Bawal pa rin po ang mass gatherings, no? Ang pwede lang po sa religious gatherings na hindi lalampas sa 10 tao. Pwede na po ang pagbisita sa mga sementeryo na hindi lalampas sa 10 tao bawat grupo. Pinapayagan po ang critical government services at humanitarian activities. Pinapayagan na po ang pampublikong transportasyon basta po merong social distancing.
President Rodrigo Roa Duterte denies the rumors that he left the country last weekend for an emergency treatment in Singapore. Duterte said it was not his character to keep his personal trip secret from the public and reiterate that he will never leave the country, especially now that we are still facing the threat of COVID-19. Our Malacanang correspondent Argel Jaducos tells us more.
President Duterte slammed critics spreading rumors that he went to Singapore over the weekend, saying he has no obligation to keep his trips a secret from the people. Duterte made a statement after reports spread on social media that he went to Singapore for medical treatment. In his public address late Monday, President Duterte said he can go wherever he pleases without using government funds and without keeping it a secret.
The right to travel is guaranteed. Kung guaranteed sa inyo, di guaranteed yan sa akin. And I do not have to hide it. I said, I would not be stupid to use government funds. Malalaman ng tao yan. So stop this nonsense about me going to Singapore. I said, if at all. Kung gusto ko pupunta ako. Wala kayong pakialam kung gusto kong pumunta. But I will not, because under no circumstances do I have the obligation to keep it a secret. What for? Pero lang si Rocco, magtanan ako.
The president said it was not in his character to keep his personal trips a secret from the public since he will not be using taxpayers' money. President Duterte said he can travel wherever he wants because the right to travel is guaranteed by the Constitution. But he reiterated he will never leave the country, especially now that the Philippines is still facing the threat of COVID-19.
Ang isang leader would always stay where the crisis is. Hindi ka dapat maglagalag kung may problema ang bayan. Napakababa naman ang tingin ninyo sa akin kung gano'n.
To disprove the rumors, President Duterte's longtime aide Senator Bongo uploaded a photo on Facebook showing Duterte having a meal with his family in their Davao City home. His common-law wife Hanilet Avancenia is seen showing a copy of Manila Bulletin's August 17, 2020 issue. For MB Now, this is Argil Gaducos reporting.
In Metro News, MECQ brings down Navota's COVID-19 positivity rate according to Mayor Toby Tiangco. Gadgets and SIM cards for students and teachers arrive at the Manila City Hall. And Sevilla Bridge that links Mandaluyong and Manila now open to motorists. More from this report.
The positivity rate of COVID-19 infection in Navotas City has decreased following the reimposition of modified enhanced community quarantine in Metro Manila, according to Mayor Toby Tiangco. In the first few days of lockdown, the positive rate of the disease in his city was at 37%. But a week after the MECQ was imposed on August 4, it decreased by more than half to 15%. This was the reason Tiangco and the Metro Manila Council on Sunday evening pushed to extend the MECQ status of the National Capital Region. The city aims to lower the positivity rate up to 10%. The laptops, tablets, pocket Wi-Fis, and SIM cards for public school students and teachers in Manila have arrived at the Manila City Hall and will be distributed next week, as announced by Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso on his Facebook account. These gadgets and connectivity devices will be used to equip students and teachers during the blended distance learning setup amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Dumagoso also said they aim to reduce the expenses of parents in terms of purchasing gadgets and access to the internet to equip their children in time of the opening classes on October 5. Over 1 billion pesos was appropriated for the purchase of the equipment. The reconstruction of Sevilla Bridge that crosses San Juan River from Mandaluyong to Manila has been completed and was fully opened to motorists. The Department of Public Works and Highways announced that the 4-lane Sevilla Bridge is now fully opened, providing motorists an alternative link from Shaw Boulevard in Burol, Mandaluyong City, and P. Sanchez Street in Santa Mesa, Manila. Sevilla Bridge was initially opened to the public on June 26, 2020 for the lanes going to Shaw Boulevard, while its opposite lane were completed a week after. The bridge reconstruction project was done in partnership with San Miguel Corporation.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Cop linked to ambush slay of La Union Town Vice Mayor surrenders. 25 health workers from Samar Provincial Hospital test positive for COVID-19. And NPA leader yields to army in Misamis Oriental. More in this report.
A police officer who was charged behind the ambush slay of Balawan Vice Mayor Alfred Concepcion last November 14, 2018, surrendered to the authorities on Monday, August 17 in San Fernando, La Union. Police Master Sergeant Dario Navalcahigas voluntarily surrendered to the authorities during the implementation of a warrant of arrest issued by a Balawan Regional Trial Court judge. Vice Mayor Alfred Concepcion and his escort were killed in an ambush on the convoy of Balawan Mayor Aleli Concepcion, which was on its way to the municipal hall. At least 25 health workers have been infected with the coronavirus disease at the Samar Provincial Hospital in Catbalogan City. The 25 new patients were in close contacts with patient EV1557, a 30-year-old male healthcare worker in the hospital. The management of the provincial hospital said they were currently closed for admissions except for imminent deliveries and life-threatening emergencies until further notice. An alleged squad leader of the New People's Army surrendered to the government forces in Agayayan, Ginoog City, Misamis Oriental Province. According to the civil-military operations of the army, the rebel identified himself as Kakobs or Botoy, voluntarily gave himself to the 23rd Infantry Battalion and police forces after realizing of a dark future in the dwindling armed struggle. The rebel returnee was a 22-year-old leader of Squad 2 of the CPP-NPA North Central Mindanao Regional Committee. The former NPA leader is now being assisted by field units for his enrollment into the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program of the government, where former rebels can avail of cash and livelihood assistance.
In world news, Israeli tanks hit Gaza over riots and balloon bombs. Greenland ice melting past tipping point, according to a study. And pregnant giant panda in the U.S. National Zoo expected to give birth in just a few days. Let's watch this report.
Israeli tanks pounded Hamas targets in the Gaza Strip in what has become a daily response to Palestinian rockets and airborne firebombs launched into southern Israel and to clashes on the border early Monday. In a statement from the Israeli army, tanks targeted a number of military observation posts belonging to the Hamas terror organization in the Gaza Strip. The army said that in addition to cross-border attacks with explosives and incendiary devices suspended from balloons, dozens of people had also instigated riots along the Gaza Strip security fence on Sunday evening. There were no immediate reports of casualties from the tank fire. Palestinian anger has flared since Israel and the United Arab Emirates on Thursday agreed to normalize relations, a move many Palestinians saw as a betrayal of their cause by the Gulf country. The melting of Greenland's ice cap has gone so far that it is now irreversible, with snowfall no longer able to compensate for the loss of ice even if global warming were to end today, according to researchers. In a statement from several authors from Ohio State University, Greenland's glaciers have passed a tipping point of sorts, where the snowfall that replenishes the ice sheet each year cannot keep up with the ice that is flowing into the ocean from glaciers. Climate change is having a devastating effect on the world's glaciers, with the ice melt posing a threat to millions of people around the world. Meanwhile, a recent study from Britain's University of Lincoln concluded that Greenland's ice melt alone is expected to contribute 10 to 12 centimeters to the world's rising sea levels by 2100. Keep your paws crossed, the U.S. Capitol Zoo said on its Twitter feed, as Mei Xiang, the female giant panda at the National Zoo in Washington, is pregnant and could give birth in the next few days. The veterinarians had detected a fetus during an ultrasound of the 22-year-old giant panda. The fetus was kicking and swimming in the amniotic fluid, and its spine and blood flow were visible. In the middle of the pandemic, this is a joyful moment for the Capitol Zoo, according to Don Neifer, the zoo's chief veterinarian. Mei Xiang was artificially inseminated on March 22 with frozen semen from the zoo's male panda, Tian Tian.
In entertainment, few days after John Regala was discharged from the hospital, his friends released a joint statement on the health care of the veteran actor. According to Nadia Montenegro, Chucky Dreyfus, and Aster Amoyo, the 55-year-old John has been very uncooperative and difficult individual. They also talked about the alleged terrible habit of the actor that they cannot condone. Because of this, they have formally ended their involvement in helping John with his medical treatment, care, and recovery. All remaining funds from the crowdfunding page and the joint bank account, which was created for donations, will be promptly turned over to whoever will look after John for safekeeping and shall be used for John's treatment and future medical needs. The short film General Rizal has premiered at the 2020 Cinemalaya Independent Film Festival, is now available on YouTube for free. In a post, the Cultural Center of the Philippines announced that General Rizal can now be streamed on the Tanghalang Pilipino official YouTube channel. General Rizal follows the story of Pasiano Rizal, regarded as the ever-supportive elder brother of the Filipino national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. He was described as a proficient general who fought the colonizers together with Andres Bonifacio and Emilio Jacinto. The film stars Tanghalang Filipino artistic director Nanding Josef, directed by Chuck Gutierrez and written by Floro Kibuyen. And in sports, it didn't take long for Filipino Jonriel Casimero to get an opponent, and it's against former Olympian Duke Micah of Ghana. The fight between Casimero and Micah is slated September 26 at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut, under the Premier Boxing Champions promotions, to be televised by Showtime pay-per-view. Casimero, the reigning WBO bantamweight champion, has been training in the United States since February for a title fight against Japan's Naoya Inoue, the IBF and WBA champion. The fight was set April 26 but was reset after the coronavirus outbreak. However, Hall of Fame promoter Bob Arum of Top Rank changed his mind and instead set a fight between his boxer Inoue and Jason Maloney, likely to happen this year. The decision of Arum forced Empire Promotions President Sean Gibbons to have Casimero fight Micah, an unbeaten boxer who fought in the 2012 London Olympics. The 5'7" Micah is undefeated in 24 bouts with 19 knockouts. Casimero, on the other hand, has a ring record of 29 wins, including 20 KOs with 4 defeats. He won his last 5 bouts by way of knockouts, the last against South African Zolani Tete, a former 2-division world champion. And for our feature story today, the residential area in Baras were surprised to see bunches of green and pale violet grapes dangling from vines in the front yard of a senior citizen's house. The 67-year-old Erlinda Buatis Eugenio of Barangay Mabini in Wawa can't believe that grapes can thrive in her 50 square meter backyard. According to Rose Ann Lat, daughter of Erlinda, her mother bought the grape plants in the public market in Tanay 2 years ago out of curiosity if such a plant would grow in their garden. The vines carry some 50 bunches of grapes, some of which are almost ripe and ready to be picked this week. It also became an instant attraction to their community. And those are the news on web today, August 18, 2020. For more news and details, get your copy of the Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. You may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your own inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.